Glug, a sort of octopus from Timbuctoo, by Roger Hargreaves. Glug was a sort of octopus, a Timbuctoo octopus. What? He lived in Sucker Cottage at the bottom of the sea of Timbuctoo. As you know, octopi have 8 long arms known as tentacles, which are used to grip onto things. Glug's tentacles, on the other hand, can stretch and stretch and stretch. Extraordinarily long tentacles. Very much like a certain orange fellow in a blue hat we all know and love. Our story begins one morning at the bottom of the sea of Timbuctoo. Glug was in bed, fast asleep. He was having a very funny dream. It was so funny that it made him laugh out loud, and that woke him up. He sat up in bed, stretched those extraordinarily long tentacles of his, which went outside of the window and down the staircase, and yawned an enormous yawn. Glug felt hungry, so do you know what he did? He reached out one of those extraordinarily long tentacles of his, opened the bedroom door, reached down the stairs, opened the kitchen door, reached into the kitchen cupboard, took out a box of frosted seaweed flakes, and put them into a bowl, and poured some coconut milk on them, fetched a tray, and brought them back upstairs to him in bed. Breakfast in bed, he thought. Very lovely. Then he noticed something. Oh, of course, no spoon, he exclaimed. So he sent one of his other tentacles down to the kitchen and retrieved a spoon and brought that back upstairs too. While Glug tucked into his hearty breakfast, he looked out of his window. Today looks very much like a day of antics, he thought to himself. So later that morning, after Glug had made his bed and washed up his bowl and spoon, he set off through the sea. As he swam along, he kept his eyes very wide open, looking for someone to tickle, looking for anybody to tickle. The first person he met was Click. Click was a sort of dolphin. Glug hid behind a rock and reached out one of those extraordinarily long tentacles of his, went up behind Click and tickled him on the back of his fin. Click giggled out loud. Hey, what's so funny? Asked a passing fish. Oh, I haven't a clue, replied Click. Glug grinned a mischievous grin. He extended his tentacles again and tickled Click and the fish. This time he kept on tickling until Click and the fish were laughing out loud and saying, Stop it! Stop it! Oh, stop it! Over and over and over again. All the other fish were laughing too at such a funny sight. There was a terrible pandemonium. Eventually Glug thought he had enough fun, so he gave Click one more tickle for luck, and then very quietly brought his tentacles back behind the rock. Chuckling to himself, he swam off, leaving poor Click to explain to the fish what it was all about, which of course he couldn't. Then Glug went to the main coral reef. And what a day Glug had! He tickled Float, a sort of ray who was taking his school of fish out on a trip. He tickled Swell, a sort of pufferfish, until he inflated. He tickled Ink, a sort of squid, until she got her tentacles in a tangle. He tickled Glow, a sort of anglerfish who was hiding quietly beneath the dark surface of the reef. He didn't like it very much, because it disturbed his peace and quiet. He also went and tickled Jiggle, a sort of jellyfish, who thought he'd found someone to play with. He even tickled Spout, who was a sort of whale, the biggest whale in the whole of Timbuctoo. Then Glug swam up the current and approached the nearby beach. And who did he see? He saw Woof, a sort of dog, Oink, a sort of pig, Moo, a sort of cow, Neigh, a sort of horse, Flutter, a sort of butterfly, Week, a sort of guinea pig, Dot, a sort of ladybird, Squawk, a sort of parrot, Squeak, a sort of mouse, Hiss, a sort of snake, and Honk, who was a sort of seal. "This'll be fun," thought Glug to himself, and he reached out those extraordinarily long tentacles of his and tickled everyone. Then Glug went home. Sitting in his armchair in Sucker Cottage, he laughed and laughed and laughed every time he thought of all the people he had tickled. And as he thought about all the people he tickled, he counted them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, he counted, and then he suddenly realized something. I just need one more person to tickle! It was then there was another knock at the door. It was Pinch. Pinch was a sort of crab. A Timbuctoo crab. "Hello, Glug, man," he said. "Have you had a nice day, man?" "The day isn't over yet," chuckled Glug playfully, and he reached out his upper right tentacle and gave Pinch a tickle. "I've done it! I've done it!" he cheered. 20 really terrific tickles from my tentacles! Then he thought, well, seeing as how it was Pinch, make that 19 and a half.